going on, everybody? We are back for another episode of Instillment HQ. I'm Reese, and today I'm hosting the amazing, the talented, the person that I have looked up to for many years now, Colin Dougan. How are you, brother?
Great, man. Thanks for being here. My humble abode.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Using my new desk.
Appreciate it, brother. Yeah. So what's going on? How's life? What's new and exciting?
I'm about to move again.
Where are you moving to?
This time I'm gonna go out to Calgary, to the mountains.
Okay.
I tend to move like every 3 months if I've looked at like my history over the last 2 years.
And why are you doing that?
Just to change it up.
Cool.
I feel like I just like to throw myself into something different.
Right.
You know, like put yourself into like a bit of a panic mode and like everything kind of comes together.
Now, is that for you creatively or is that for you personally? A little bit of both, or?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to live more creatively. I don't want to have different entities of myself now. So like, I really want to be creating more. And I think just like going out to Calgary is like a great opportunity, and just honestly, like every way, like as a business, as a creator, and just, I think like the energy there is really good. And there's like a great community out there and beautiful mountains.
Yeah, that's for sure. I haven't been to Calgary exactly, but I have been to Vancouver, and just the mountains out there are unbelievable. The hiking you can do, the inspiration you get. I feel like the energy, like you said, you know, there's a lot of like younger people there. There's a lot of people like really kind of striving for what they want to do, right? So being around that energy is amazing, as you know. Yeah. So, I mean, before we talk more about like what's next for you, can you maybe like tell us a little bit about kind of your journey and how you started doing video?
Sure. I guess it's gonna depend on like what you consider to be my first videos. Okay. 'Cause like growing up, I'm pretty sure I stole my dad's camcorder. Like he was in a band.
Camcorder. For all you young people, do you know what that is?
It's the one where you can just zoom right in on it.
Yeah.
It had a flip screen, which like a lot of cameras are lacking nowadays for some reason.
Yep.
Shout out Panasonic though.
Love it.
So I would steal that and go to try and do like prank videos or just like really stupid stuff. Like eating toothpaste, like a reaction video. I remember that was one.
Come on, that was actually one of them?
That was one. My first video, the first video I remember was called Poop in a Sweater, where I took my dog poo, I took my dog's poo and I put a plastic bag in my friend's sweater, and then I scooped it up, put it in the sweater, and like had him react to it.
Like naturally?
Like he had no idea.
Oh,
he had no idea. That was like my first.
That
was my first video. It turned out well because like he reacted poorly, which I guess is the goal.
I think everyone would react pretty poorly about that.
Yeah. There was a bag in there, dude.
Yeah.
It was fake. That was my first video I can remember.
Right on.
So like that was the origin, I guess. And that'd be when I was like 10.
Right.
But I mean, it didn't happen again. Like I didn't get another wave until I was like 15 or so. Like started watching a lot of College Humor, and like I just loved the back and forth skits. And I don't know, man. Like I was always like growing up, I went to like the enrichment. I was always into math, into science, into language, and then there was always this side of me that I knew I wanted to go create something. And like it seemed like it was leaning towards videos. Like there's different phases to where I wanted to make videos.
Right.
And so in high school, I started making them again. I was in this program. It's called the IB program, and I didn't like the structure of it. So the thing is like after you get like one elective in grade 9, one elective in grade 10, and that's it.
Right.
So it's like a super nerdy, like very structured course. It's essentially like college in high school.
Okay.
And after like 2 years, I'm like, I don't know what I like.
Yeah.
Because I'm taking all these things that are like really intense. And I finally just was like, no, I'm going to go single credit on it.
Right.
If you know me, I'm like very forgetful. So
I mean, we forgot a few things today, and by we I mean me.
It's all good. We make it work.
Yep.
I had 2 math courses at the same time. Okay. And I forgot which test was on which So I'd show up for the wrong test and study for the other one. So eventually I had to drop out, and that forced me to take my first video course. I had like a couple friends, and they were making these like really terrible like Mountain Dew commercials, and and it looked like so much fun. And like, this doesn't feel like school. That was the first time where I stepped away from the academics and did something that was, I would say, like equally testing, but fun. Yeah. And so I got into
you were like willing to kind of like put in that extra work, I guess you could say. Because I know for me, like, sorry to cut you off,
no
but
worries,
like,
man.
when I started doing video, it was like the point where I'd be staying up late but enjoying it.
Yeah.
Whereas like you're doing other homework, staying up late, and you're like, fuck, like when's bedtime? Like when can I go to bed? That kind of thing, right? So
that was the first time we stayed at school. Like, we stayed at school, like, I'm pretty sure it was after midnight. I think we got out of there at like 2-3 a.m.
Yeah.
And like
who else would do that?
Nobody.
Yeah.
Like, shout out to our teacher for actually letting us stay that long.
Yeah.
He let us have the studio, and that was the beginning of many all-nighters.
Many.
That would influence my lifestyle forever onward.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you enjoyed it, right? Like you felt like, at least for me, like you feel like, not to get all like deep, but like you feel like you actually have like purpose for once, and you feel like your hard work's actually like paying off, whether it's to somebody else or for yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's even simpler than that. Like, when you don't have to think about it, I think that's those rare moments, like when you're doing something that's like when it's perfect in essence, like you don't have to think.
Yeah.
So I guess like that was the first time I felt any sort of way toward, like, I never would have thought it would be a career. So that was grade 12. First elective like I've ever really gotten to take that was anything creative. But at that point I'd already like accepted a university offer.
And where was that to?
That was to University of Waterloo.
Okay.
So at that point I got real confused because I was like, I don't know, like, should I look at video as like as an option?
Yeah.
And, it just didn't seem like I didn't even know where to start for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I knew that would mean I would have to go to college, and here, like, college is definitely looked down upon for some reason.
Yeah. We can talk a lot about that. And how high school makes it like seem like it's a lesser option, when I feel like a lot of people would benefit from going to college.
Well, that was
self-included.
That was why I went to Waterloo. I went to Waterloo instead of the BBA at Laurier, because I was like, okay, let's try something different. It was like a media incorporated program.
Okay.
We don't have to get too much into this, but essentially there was like a big complex, and like, if I could give anything to anyone watching this, it's like, you gotta follow your instinct. And like, that was the first time where I got into a situation, and I ended up going to university for the first year, but I walked out of there like real confused. Yeah. And I'm
sure a lot of people do.
Yeah. So I wasn't making I was making like 1 or 2 videos during university for the program, but like, that's all I wanted to do. And like, I started to realize that, and eventually ended up dropping out and trying to do videos full time. So that would be like,
share a similar story.
That would be like the start of actually creating videos. So now I'm like, how old are you then? 19? 19.
At that point, yeah.
19, just dropped out of school. I let a couple of relationships go because I was just like real confused. So I kind of just like tried to clean the slate.
Right.
Moved out, dropped out, ended like a 5-year relationship. And at that point I was just trying to figure out like, where do I go? Mm-hmm. And I was leaning towards videos. So I started doing that for a bit. There's no real guidance on it, man. It was just a lot of self-exploration at that point. And it was funny because like, I never even wanted to edit. I thought I wanted to be an actor or something. Okay. So it was like, I wouldn't even edit the videos at the beginning. I was like coming up with the ideas. I was writing them, acting in them. And then it got to a point where my friends were too slow. And like, they had other commitments. They didn't have like the same sort of interest. Right. So I kind of took over, and I just started editing, like, just to get the videos done. Yep. And so I think in that year we did 20 to 25 videos in like the span of like 8 months. It's a lot. So I mean, that would be the first time I really got into it. So yeah, I guess that was the start of it. I made all those videos. I finally applied to film school. It was interesting because the group I was surrounded with, like, they were always supportive in like their own ways. Yeah. but it ended up being, I ended up separating myself from them because I saw that they just didn't have that interest.
Right.
So like we had to make a 60-second video to apply to our program. I made mine like really early, and then none of my friends submitted theirs, so like they missed their deadline. So that was the first time like it was very obvious we were not going to continue together.
Yeah.
So I applied to film school, got into film school, and I was just like over the moon, man. I think I got like a 7 out of 10 on my video or something, like nothing crazy, like no prodigy stuff.
Yeah, but still, though, you're stoked to be there, right?
Got it.
Yeah.
It was a program of, I think, like 90 people. And, you know, that was the first video I ever shot that I wasn't fully in. So now that I'm like jogging my memory, I'm thinking about it. It's kind of similar to like the videos that I'm starting to make again. But that was the first time where like it wasn't about me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was funny because the next thing I did was I shot another video for my dad, like for, you know, paying him back for letting me use his camera all the time.
Right.
And from there, like, I got an opportunity to shoot a music festival just because of the industry. So like he's in the music industry. I shot a video. And so that started me making videos for people that had nothing to do with me.
Right.
So I shot a festival, started working at a factory to like get any sort of income. And then it would be like a video every 2 to 3 months, you know, and like when you're waiting that long for something, like you go full out, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So shot a couple of festivals and then finally got an opportunity to be paid. Someone's like, do you want to do this club video? They're like, we'll give you $200. I'm like,
fuck yeah.
Dude.
Fuck yeah, I would love to do this.
Go. Let's go. I remember that, man. That was August 2015. I went, shot the video, and I sent them the video by like 5 a.m. So like,
because you were just so stoked.
Dude, I was like, got home, hopped in Final Cut, and it was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was done by like 5 a.m. Sent him a draft.
That's unreal.
The guy texted me back. He's like, wait, what? He's like, this is like, sorry. He's like, this was last night. Like, he was confused.
Yeah.
I didn't know, right? Like, I'm just excited. I only have the weekend to work because like the factory job took up my entire week.
Right.
So I sent it right away, and like, he was stoked. And he's like, oh, all right, like, let's do another video.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it was like him, and then just like the local DJ group. I went around doing videos. And so, and like, this wasn't even when I was in school yet, right? Like, this is my freelance career. Like, it was August. So September, I started school. And then, like, went to Sheridan College for film and TV, which, it was an interesting experience. My favorite class was actually audio, I would say.
Really?
But it was really slow. And
as audio is.
You might know this event. It's called 12 Bars.
I might know
12 Bars
it.
of Christmas.
Yeah. Completely just filmed it. I never went and enjoyed it at all.
So
yes.
Disclaimers.
Yeah, disclaimers if we want to look at my 16 to 35.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's 12 bars.
Lost a couple of those. I got a broken one in right there, 24 to 35.
Vicious.
That was a bunny hop one, actually.
Oh, okay, fair enough. XL lifestyle.
So it was from there. So it was that DJ group. One of them, DJ Whiteout, my boy Johan.
Hey, Johan.
Hope you're watching this, Johan.
Dude's a stud.
Dude's a stud.
Yeah.
He brought me to 12 Bars to do a video for him.
Right.
And, you know, that was where everything kind of fell into place. Did a video for Johan. And the company that was throwing the event was expanding. Like, they were taking on more and more events.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't have anyone to do their content.
Right.
Spencer, the GOAT, he was too busy. He was moving onward and upward, shooting things like, you know, after movies for like Veld and like, you know, moving on to like full music festival production crews and everything. So that was my opportunity right there. So because I made this video with this DJ group at this event, like, it's just weird. It was like a weird twist of fate.
There was a need. There was
like,
an opportunity.
They literally just needed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was working with someone at 12 Bars. It was like a guy making a video. And he was pretty rude. And I was so mad about it. Like, he was just so rude. Like, he would like literally get into my shots. Like, he fell and I caught him because you take a bus in Waterloo. So he fell, I caught him. He's like, don't ever touch me again. You know, and I'm just like, I looked up to this guy, man. He was the guy who shot all these videos.
Yeah.
And like, he treated me like that. And I was so mad that I was just like, dude, I'm going to take this job.
Yep.
Like, I don't know how.
That's where the motivation starts.
Like, I didn't know how. I'm just like, this video is going to be so good that like, they can't say no to me.
Yep.
So,
that's a great attitude to have.
So
it's amazing.
And like, I had no idea they were looking for work, you know, like I was just making this video and hoping they would post it on their Instagram.
But that was just your fire that you had.
Dude, I was just like, I want to make their best Instagram video they've ever seen. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Just so fired up.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, thankfully that would start my career essentially. So 2016, like January 3rd, I think was the date. That was the first time I started doing video full time.
That's amazing. And
so
that was with
XL,
right?
XL Lifestyle.
Yeah.
I was in-house. I hope that wasn't too long-winded of an explanation.
No, man, it was great.
Because
I was thinking, I was going to say, this is a nice transition to when I met you.
Yeah.
Through the 12 bar stuff. And I think, obviously, I was on the partying side of things when I met you, but I was just started doing video as well in that time.
We're always on the party.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I found it really interesting because I had just started doing stuff in Niagara, which is not the greatest place to be if you're trying to do video and get these opportunities, which I wanted to touch on as well. Like, how important did you think that like surrounding yourself with the right people is? Because I know you said you kind of cut some people off and then you started to move into this XL thing. You started meeting up with DJs, right? Like, how important would you say that is for where you are then, where you are now, kind of thing?
Dude, it is essentially everything. You know, 2015 hit. I dropped out. Like, I was going through obviously a massive depression. Like, you can't, like, when you clean the slate, it's not like, it's like,
yeah, it's not a happy time.
I'm fresh.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah, you're letting a lot of stuff go.
So like, broke up, moved out, dropped out. I was working at a factory, which is draining, and like the influence there, man, like looking at what was on my mind at the time, it's very interesting to see how much, like, just working in that factory, how much of an impact on my mentality they had. Not necessarily in a bad way, but they kind of convinced me, like indirectly, they convinced me to drop out, to break up with my girlfriend. The moving out thing was already happening because I was planning on attending school in Waterloo. Mm-hmm. So from there, I started clean slate, and like, I love the guys that I was hanging out with. Like, great guys, would do anything for you. It's just like when you're in like that time period, you know, where nobody knows what they're doing. Like, I would never blame someone for their influence when they don't know.
Yeah.
But I had to leave them all. You know,
you're just on different paths, different journeys.
When 2015 hit and I was like, I gained 40 pounds. I was 200 pounds. You know, I just like looked terrible. I was not doing anything. That was the moment where I was like, man, I gotta do something. You know, I'm like, we're just hanging out, eating pizza, not making videos. Like, obviously I dropped out without approval. So I was in this really weird in-between phase where I wasn't hanging out with my friends and I wasn't hanging out with my family. So I think that started to drive a mentality where it was like, work, block everything else out, put your head down.
Right.
But man, within a few months, like, everything changed. So I dropped 40 pounds within within 4 months.
Yeah.
So I was like in great shape, just got accepted to film school, and dude, like literally within those 3 to 4 months, that was when I started filming the festivals.
And what would you say was like how does that happen for somebody? Like, just because you put your head down and you blocked everything out, or was it like a moment you looked at yourself in the mirror? Or like,
I think I'm trying to, like, I've always looked back and I'm trying to think like, dude, like, what happened? You know, because
yeah.
Like, you think it's just like all right, I'm gonna do this, but I don't know. There had to be one moment There had to be
Or you're just
one
sick of
moment
it.
where it was just what I think it was it became that I was making videos by myself.
Okay.
So like my friends and I would all get together and like videos were pushed way to the back burner.
Okay.
Where before we were all meeting up to make videos.
Yeah.
So I think there was a time period there where it was just awkward. Where it was like there was a moment where I realized, you know, like we're not working together on anything really.
Yeah.
And I noticed we were all just like starting to go way downhill.
Right.
So I'm thinking it was like I looked in the mirror. So like this body shouldn't be 200 pounds, man. I was like 5'7", you know, like that's a lot of weight.
Yep.
Honestly, man, like it takes a long time to find the right crowd. I still haven't completely found it. But even then, like I was taking any opportunity I could.
Right.
Right. Like, so, the dad, like helping out my dad, that was like something that he'd always dreamed of, was like playing downtown Toronto, Hard Rock Cafe.
Right.
So like, obviously I was going to hop on that.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to support his dreams, obviously his family.
Of course.
And it's just crazy how like out of that spawned this music festival, which I thought was like the right crowd at the time. And at that time it was, but like midsummer, that guy who was supposed to be like my agent, my manager, the guy who was getting me into these festivals, he was arrested at a festival that he was organizing for being like too intoxicated.
That's always good. So then you're like, okay, time to evolve.
Not hanging out with that guy either. Like, you know, it's just like you gotta keep cutting. You gotta keep trimming the fat.
Mm-hmm. But then also, like, I also think because you were saying yes to these opportunities as well, right? So it's like, yeah, trim the fat, but also be able to be like, open to opportunities and stuff, right?
100%. Because like, I would never say you can't fail necessarily, right? Like, you can do your best evaluation on what you're going forward with, but at the end of the day, like, you learn a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
And like, I have to give that guy credit. He hooked me up with my first paid gig.
Right.
You know, he told me about it, and then he disappeared for 2 weeks, and like I chased him down before, like, and he never responded. And then like a week later, he hit me up. He's like, "Yo, did you do the job?" I was like, "Yeah, I did the job." He's like, "Okay, well, like I need my cut." I'm like, dude, like I had to chase down this guy to get the job. I had to show up to the club 3 times to like scope it, to meet the guy, to get the approval. Yeah. And this other guy was just somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
So you gotta be careful of like that was a very obvious time where it's like, okay, like thankfully I learned early from that guy is like people are gonna try to take advantage of you.
Oh, absolutely.
I didn't
realize,
especially
as a creative.
Yeah. So you got to really pick your battles. Like those magazines I was filming for, I'm sure he made money off of. I was doing it for free just because I wanted to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, like thankfully I got to cut that tie very early before it could have ended. You know, like if he would have like locked me into an agency or something.
Yeah, for sure.
And you got to always just like maintain. You know, like you got to...
Okay, explain that. You got to maintain.
You got to reassess and evaluate your situations. Right? So... Okay. At that time, I didn't really have any options. If I wanted to make videos, that was how I was going to make videos.
It was that or nothing kind of thing. Yeah. Okay.
You know, and but it's always going to come down to that. So I worked with XL Lifestyle after that.
Right.
Little did I know that very first festival video I made, like that was being watched by someone who would have a lot of influence over me in the next year to come.
And that someone?
Spencer.
So
he saw me make that first music festival video.
Yep.
He actually recommended me to XL Lifestyle.
Okay.
So like I know I made that video from 12 hours for them, but like literally off that first like ever after my very first same day edit, or I guess that'd be my second one.
Yeah, other than the club on that 5 a.m.
So they posted it because I got them the content quick, right? Same day edits are very attractive to like literally anyone. So
well, just imagine the audience, right?
Yeah.
Holy shit, like this was yesterday and we're already seeing ourselves in this video.
Then I would go on to work with XL Lifestyle. So what I've noticed is sometimes I'll overcommit to myself in a healthy way.
Right.
So at that point I told them that I knew the entire Adobe suite, but I was editing in Final Cut.
Right.
So I mean, I
locked. You got to get out there and fucking learn
real quick. So like for the next 2 weeks, I started working full time. like right away.
Okay.
So we were doing 8-hour days, and they didn't even know what the job was yet, like, because it was a little while until they had their first event.
Okay.
So I was learning, like I was spending every hour I could while I was there learning. So because they didn't exactly know what they wanted, it looked like I was just taking my time, but I was learning. And so I learned the Adobe suite I learned Premiere in 2 weeks.
Which is, for anyone who's learned Premiere and trying to learn Premiere, that is quick as fuck. Very quick.
And then I think it was within 2 to 3 months, I had a good handle on After Effects, where it all just finally clicked.
Right.
And yeah, so that was a really good starting point. That was a good base. I'm always scared to sign contracts. I feel like everything moves too quickly. I know it sounds just like relationship issues.
In terms of the industry, or in terms of how videos play out, or projects play out, or
locking in for yearly, that's never been me. Even, I guess even school, look at school, man. I only made it through the first year.
Life changes very quickly.
I got 8 months in, and I was like, oh, my life completely changed within a couple months.
Right.
So I think that's had an interesting impact to where I wanted to sign with XL, because that was the first time where I was like, oh my God, there's something here. He was like, I can get paid to make these videos. I can get a full, a regular person's salary.
Yeah.
I'm making
and doing something you want to be doing.
I'm doing $100 videos, and I'm doing club photos every weekend. So my income from video at that time was $600 to $1,000 max a month. That'd be the best I could do in a month. Right. So to have consistency, and looking back on it, amazing opportunity. I feel there's a lot of creators who are sitting at where I was that December, where it's you make a video here and there, but you're not committed. There's a huge gap between people right there and people who are making it. This huge gap is a lot of dedication, experience, and just level of quality. You know what I mean? You can go out and look. There's a ton of videos that all look the same, and it's all from this group who just don't know to take the leap forward. And then there's these people who are absolutely killing it, like Spencer, and these people who are just always putting out something amazing. Yeah. So I think it was important to lock in long term, just to commit.
Yeah, learn that commitment, learn that sacrifice, right?
But as history repeats itself, I learned very quickly that I could make a lot more in freelance. So within, shout out to my boy Spencer, he picked me up to do some work that summer.
I was gonna say, when you surround yourself with that mentorship, right? It's
that was where I finally founded who I was going to be, in the sense I was okay, I like where these guys are going. And even XL Lifestyle, dude, I'm now in an office, they have leopard print carpet, which is unbelievable, but I'm with these young entrepreneurs, right? And they're hustling. Yeah. We would be there all night. I was there a little longer because I had school still, so I'd be going in at 6 p.m. and working till 4 a.m. Right. So I'm leaving later, but that was the first time I found a community. And it's interesting, man. You really got to know and be careful what you wish for, right? Because within 6 months, I realized I'm making $13 an hour editing videos, but then the freelance rates were more than 3 to 4 times that.
Yeah, because it's all you.
So there was a point where I'm what do I really want? And that caused a lot of confusion in me. So the next 6 months, I would carry forward wondering what could have been. And I think that was when I got introduced to Sam Kolder. Not I didn't meet him, but it was that fall that I saw his, I think it was a Dubai video. I'm yo, that's what's up. I'm that's some technicalities. The thing I noticed with the events was they just wanted the same video, right, over and over and over and over. I've been making the same video for 4 years essentially.
Yeah, and to any creative, you're going to start going crazy because you just want to either push it or try something new or experiment, right? So yeah,
so anytime I would experiment, it would usually go bad. The videos I would pour 20 hours into, a short video, would always fail. Video I'd spend like 3 to 4 hours on was like perfect in their eyes.
Yeah.
So that was another time where it's just like, man, I really want to push myself. And like, I'm not pushing myself. Like, I'm just editing. I'm spending 8 hours a day just trying to look busy.
You're getting all these corrections that you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, it's just even like bored. Like, I was bored. I was just like, if I was going to give you $200 to make a video and you could do it in an hour, would you spend 8?
Not a chance.
No, not a chance, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, there's another point where I was able to reassess my situation, and moving forward into 2017, I went freelance.
Right.
I'm like insanely grateful with how it turned out, because I made that decision based on like what my next year contract looked like, and then I told them, I was like, I can't do it. And then they're like so thankful for this. They came back and they're like, all right, man, well, like, having someone in the office costed more than I thought. Like, if you want to just do these on freelance, like, you can still have these contracts.
So you got to pick and choose at that point.
So I got to pick and choose, but, you know, things that I would spend all month on, I could now do in like 3 to 4 days.
Right.
So, you know, it's just like the time.
The efficiency.
Like, the time that I bought back by going freelance was more valuable than, and like, that's a lesson I'm still carrying. You know, it's like, if I only need this much money, how much like happiness and like how much pursuit am I losing by overbooking myself?
Right.
You know, like, if this room and my food bill is like $1,000, but I booked my whole month to make like, I'm not going to say an absurd, I'm just going to say like $3,000 to $4,000 even.
Yeah.
But my whole month is gone. I'm not improving. It was the same thing in school. It was the same thing when I lived at that house. You know, it's like, I'm just filling my time.
Mm-hmm.
There's like no improvement here. Like, at what point does money, that's a different topic. Let's get back to it.
It's a good topic though, if you want to keep going.
But I don't want to veer too far off the question, but you gotta do these reassessments, and you gotta really pursue what is calling you, you know, because again, freelance I was fired up about. That was something where I wanted to make these videos. I was pumping them out. I was getting better and better and better, and then the money would follow it.
And that's the dream for anybody, I think.
But that comes to like, you gotta assess like what you're doing and what's actually driving you. I'm trying to tie this back,
because there's a difference.
There's a difference. Like, there's times, because this is going to come up. This is something that like a lot of people should know more about. But sometimes you're going to do a job for free because you want to do it.
Yep.
You know, but you got to decide like, all right, am I being taken advantage of by this person, or am I surrounding myself with a future? You know, and usually like, you got to pick your team based on that.
And depending on your influences, that can be a really hard question, because, you know, some people, especially when you're surrounded by traditional people, are like, oh, don't do it, it's free. Yeah. Then all they care about the money. And there's some people who are too far on the other side and are just like, I'll just do it, it's a great opportunity. So you got to break that balance of like, okay, like, where can this take me for myself, and how can I actually survive with it as well, right? So I mean, I'm going to try and get to your questions, man. I'm sorry I rambled too much on that. Dude, you're fine. Don't worry.
2017, I went freelance, started working, and I was just taking on a bunch of random gigs, making a lot of money, but like jamming my like schedule full.
Right.
And so I was just so overworked. Eventually I got an opportunity to go and do like a travel job.
And what was that for?
We went to Dallas, I believe, to shoot like a conference, and then after the conference we went to New Orleans to go to Mardi Gras. Like, overall, just like a really cool, like, unique experience.
Cool.
Just like going to New Orleans, like, amazing place, man. But like, even there's like a good, like, you know, you make your sacrifice to do it. Like, I'm not gonna say shitty job, but like, I was carrying a Ronin for like 14 hours for 3 days. So
that'll do something for your back.
But because of that, I got to go to the Mardi Gras.
Right.
And so that was my first, I wouldn't say that was like my first travel job, but that was like a really cool experience that opened me up to like is there a future in this?
Right.
And he's like, hey, like, do you want to go to this? Like, I know you really want to travel. So he gave me the opportunity in hopes that like it would strengthen our relationship, so that I can continue to do like the corporate work afterwards, and like we could figure something out.
Right.
So we did a bunch of corporate work and finally got this opportunity. Went on that trip, and just like, long story short, like it changed my life. Like it was the first time where I lived for 30 days with only like a couple pairs of clothing. You know, at that point, you're living out of a suitcase. My gimbal broke because of the sea salt.
Come on.
So I'm shooting like all handheld. Like there's a bunch of chaotic stuff, man. My screen died at one point. Like I eventually had to get that replaced. So I'm shooting all through like the viewfinder and my drone.
Which is not great.
Nightmare.
Yeah. So basically everything went wrong, but
Everything went wrong, but it was amazing. And that was the first time I was like, is this all I really need? Like, do I not need anything? Like, you come home from after living a month in a suitcase and you're just like, how, like, what am I surrounding myself with?
yeah.
You know, like, what do I really need to feel like that again? And that was a very big turning point for me. Like, that would go on to just, like, further this idea that, you know, passion is more important than anything. So this is where Sam Kolder comes in. In my spree of doing just, like, random stuff, I, like, volunteered to help out at a music video. You'll love this. I went to go shoot for them, like, just for the experience, because they had a Ronin. I'm like, dude, I want to try a Ronin.
Yeah, and this is like the 2-handle one, right? Not like the smaller. Yeah.
Well, I'm like, yo, I'd be legit if I had one of those.
Yeah.
So that's why I took that opportunity. Ended up leading me to that last job, those travel gigs.
Right.
Because
Okay.
the one director worked with him.
Okay.
So that got me that job. But then I saw this Iceland video, and it was from Sam Kolder.
Yep.
I was like, dude, this is dope. But at the same time, I got really mad. Because I'm like, yo, I'm so capable of this.
Right.
You know, it's pretty much just like a linear video. Like, it has some cool transitions and stuff. But I'm like, I could totally do this. Like, is it like, it sounded like a calling to me. You know, I'm like, this is
almost maybe even a challenge too.
And a challenge. So I got really fired up. I don't know what I said that night or what I did. But literally the next morning, Jacob, his manager at the time, reached out to me. It's like, hey man,
That's crazy.
do you want to come work on like some of these vlogs with us? Like, we need some help. I'm just like,
Nah, I'm good.
it's just one of those random twists of fate. You know, it was just like, I didn't even say, like.
But I feel like this is where a lot of people have the misconception that it's like, oh, you know, you just got lucky one day. But it was like those years of like, you know, broken gimbals on a yacht. The years of like you finding yourself and paving yourself this path, right? Because I feel like a bunch of people a bunch of times are probably like, oh, you got so lucky. And
No,
I'm sure that pisses you off as much as it pisses off me, because it's like, oh, you're so lucky you got to do this. It's like, okay, like maybe the opportunity and how it came about, like sure, like it was maybe a luck of the draw, but at the same time you had to put yourself in that position to begin with. So it's like,
here's the thing, man. Whenever you take some sort of leap, you're gonna get tested. Like,
for sure.
The universe comes back and it's like, do you really want this?
Yeah. And
like,
how far are you willing to go to get it?
So when I went to go work with them, I had to turn down, like, that relationship kind of went sour because of this, but also because, like, I turned down all of my freelance opportunities off, like, after that to do this, sacrifice it. So I sacrificed, like, a lot of financial health to go do that. But that was, like, an incredible time.
Obviously you learned a lot, I'm sure.
I learned a lot, man. I worked with them for like 5 months. And then it's hard to communicate when traveling, man. Sam would be one of the very few people that I could say follows the same sort of like trust your instincts. Like, there's very few people that I've seen who are like, will just go all out. And like, luckily enough, I got to be surrounded by that. But it's hard to run a business. You know, like
because you're so in the moment, or like
you're so in the moment. Like he's out experiencing these unbelievable, like life-changing things. It's like, how do you run a business when like, you know, your mind's completely being molded by like all these amazing opportunities?
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to care about like what's going on back home.
Where do you strike that balance,
like,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we ran into some issues there, and I ended up leaving. But you know, dude, I learned so much from him. I got to a point where, again, it just felt like we were just putting out the same videos. We were just trying to get faster content, and that is never my mission. I always want to make better. I always want to keep growing. Like I didn't start making videos for the money.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want to ask anything more about Sam Kolder, but like that was kind of like that segment.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like, you know, it's just history repeating itself. I was then left, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I loved travel. I was so inspired by like what Sam was doing. Booked a one-way ticket to Europe, brought my friend, and like, you know, I was like trying to take what I learned from Sam Kolder, you know, like make the best quality. The best quality will always speak like volumes above someone putting out 100 videos.
Yeah. But how do you like, because if you're trying to get out content a lot of it and consistently, how do you, and like maybe this is a question for everybody, but like how do you stop making the same video over and over again? Because there's a point where it's like, if you want to be new every single time, that's going to take some like massive mental power, and you probably most often than not can't do it quickly and consistently. Like, how do you take those steps to be unique every single time? Or like, is there just you being you? Because like,
no, not at all. It's complete opposite, actually.
Okay.
So every time, like, even looking back to 12 bars days, every day, like I was doing same day edits. I'm like, I want every day to look different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, how do I make something like slightly different? And I would go in with the intention of like, what's one thing I can try? Like, look at this edit, you know? Like this video is nothing like the last video I just put out. I'm like, all right, well, like let's try this like infinity zoom that I from a movie that I really like. It fits the idea of what I'm going for, of like flying through the city like simultaneously all at once.
Yeah, it aligns with the story, which is the most important thing, right? So
yeah, that's the most important thing to me. But at the same time, man, it's like just do one little thing different.
So just every time challenge yourself to one thing.
When I was learning Premiere, when I was learning After Effects, when I was working with them, I would do one thing different every time. You know, if I'm making new videos, like, okay, let's go look at some tutorials. So then I find a tutorial, and then I'm like, okay, I'll try this out. So that's how I learned, was like just doing one new thing each time. And then, dude, if you make like 200 videos, you know, you've learned so many things that you can now.
You learn 200 things, technically.
You can bring them in. You can use them differently. You can combine them. Like, that was the one thing, was just like, you know, just be excited. Or you, like what I'm seeing from like I said earlier, like Daniel Schiffer, great guy. Or sorry, I haven't met him, but like he seems like he's dedicated, man. The kid hustles. But what I'm noticing is like he took travel transitions into like making a pizza. You know what I mean? So it's like the reason why I said yes to every job was because it was an opportunity to learn something different. You know, like I volunteered for that music video. When have you ever seen me post a music video?
Yeah.
You know, like never.
Yeah.
I've done like tour videos and stuff, but it's more or less just like going out and putting myself into these different spots to see like how I could react to it, and see like, you know, like what is something new I can learn from this, or like
absolutely,
how do I look at this video from a different angle?
Right.
You know, like what I'm trying to do now is like, how do I make a documentary that's educational and beautiful? Like, how do I make a travel video that like is educational and impactful? You know, it's like taking your video but looking outside of it. And that was one thing that like,
to see how people will receive it, or just outside of it in terms of like, how is it different for you?
Like look outside of it to see what you're interested in and how you can incorporate like what you really want to do, and how do you bring that into this, essentially.
Okay.
Is what I would say.
Cool. When does the moment come where you're like, okay, you know, I'm learning from all these people, I'm making content for other people's visions. I'm doing all this stuff. Like, when do you finally say, okay, you know what? It's time for my vision. And I don't mean that in a sense where like you're not adding your vision into everything that you work on, but when do you finally say like, hey, I'm going to create this because I wanted to create it for my reasons? Like, when does that moment hit? Or how did it hit, or why did it hit for you?
It'll hit, but it hits different for everyone.
Of course.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because like, this is something I learned from my dad recently. Like, he didn't realize what he said, or like the impact of like what he said, but it was about stock trading. And he's like, for some reason, people like to just hold on when they're losing, but they're so quick to like give up once they're winning. You know, he was talking about the stock trades. Like, you know, as soon as you get like some sort of success, like people are usually just like ready to sell it.
Okay.
Like, oh, I made $20 off of Bitcoin. I gotta sell this. You know, and like later it goes on to be like $20,000. You know.
Right.
Whereas like as soon as like they could start losing, they're like, oh, I can't lose. Like this is gonna turn around. You know, it just keeps just tanking. You know,
Yeah.
but like they'll hold on until like they have nothing. Which is like a really interesting human behavior.
It is.
And you kind of got to analyze that, because that was what I was faced with Sam and like Excel, and like literally everyone was just like, how much does this actually align with like where I want to go? You know, like, am I enjoying this still? When I realized like I was in these amazing places and not enjoying them, I knew something was up.
Yep.
You know, like there comes a point where like you start to feel this discomfort, and a lot of people, like, that's where your influences are very important. You know, like, who's gonna tell you, no, it's a good opportunity, stay, and who's gonna tell you like, get out of there? You know, like, you have to be really careful with that. And like,
especially when it's surface level stuff, like, oh, like, shouldn't you be happy like working for this or there or being here, when it's like, that's not the point, right?
Yeah. And like, and everything's always gonna sound, I hate to say this, but like, for the most part, everything always sounds better than it ends up being, unfortunately. But
that's why everyone's trying to sell something, right?
Yeah. Like, but it's great. Like, you know, like, I think that's where I get into these like 3-month situations, or like a couple month situations, where it's like, okay, I'm going to go here for a couple months, see what it's like to begin with, take that inspiration, and then like move forward if I have to.
Right.
With Sam, it was great, but we were hitting these roadblocks where it's just like the just like time differences and everything, and like we just weren't progressing. Like, we couldn't get edits done because like the revision process is really hard when you're like on opposite time zones.
Of course.
You know, like, you can send one message each or something, you know, and he's out in like a safari, like I can't call him.
And especially like you were saying, when you're so consumed by the moment,
yeah,
you're not focused on what
this guy's out here making like a documentary to help save wildlife, you know, and I'm just sitting here, I'm just like, I have no idea, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm just at a computer, I'm like, why isn't he responding? You know, it's like,
how did you get this other editor?
Serving like the greater good of like man, but at the same time, it's just like I'm happy for him, man. I'm so happy to support, but like, I have a calling to do my own things, and like, at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, well, how much am I really helping Sam? Like, is there someone who would be better for this than me? Like, because I want him to succeed 100%. Mm-hmm. I just don't want to false commit. You know, like, that's a big issue, is people are like, I'm so interested in that. Yeah. I can totally do this. But like, it eats them up inside. And over the years, like, it becomes more intense. So I get so uncomfortable to a point where I'm just like, I gotta change something. You know, it just hits a point for me where like I'm better at catching it now. So like, I live a pretty flexible life, but it's literally like, if you see what I do, I pretty much drop everything, completely do something new like multiple times a year. You know, like, going to answer that's like Calgary options, like, I think that will be better, because I want to come out with like an editing course to help people. And someone out there is making one. There's a great community out there with like Socality, and like this like community that's been built up in Calgary from my friend Scott, and like, just change the scenery. You know, like, those mountains are amazing. Like, if I can go out there and like go for a hike and go shoot something for YouTube instead of just like sitting in here all day, and like over caffeinating myself to stay on task, you know, like.
Yeah, well, that's something I wanted to touch on with you as well, is like balance as well. Because I feel like, you know, we've always talked, hey, we're up at 4, we're chatting. Like, why are we up this late? But you know what I mean? But it's like, when do you hit that point where it's like, okay, I've worked for 12 hours. I've worked for 15 hours today. Like, do I take the next day off? Do I keep working? Because I feel like a lot of people struggle with that, right? Because it's like, you want to grind, you want to be the best, you want to get ahead, you want to do this for you, and you love it, but it's like, you don't want to burn out. So how do you achieve that balance? Or do you even achieve that balance?
I mean, like, here's the thing. The way I see life is not to like jump into life, but
Dude, jump into life, man.
life is literally just like a balance, you know, like it's like frequencies. Everything's built out of like wavelengths, essentially, like even light, you know. But what is a wave? Like it's a down and an up, you know. And like to find balance, like I don't know if that ever really hits, because like I was like, some people like, that means you're dead, you know. It's like when your heartbeat goes like parallel, like there's no balance necessarily. Like, yeah, like the heartbeat, you know, like it's
There's
up
ups and downs.
There's things you can look for, but like I live a very irregular lifestyle, so I don't really have anyone to guide it per se. Like I have specific influences that I like, but again, like I'm trying to find a healthy balance of like who's influencing me and what do I actually want. So if I'm up till like 4 a.m. and I'm like, dude, I didn't really do anything for the last 3 hours, like I should probably go to sleep, you know. But sometimes I'll be like, I can't sleep. Mm-hmm. It's weird, man. Like sometimes you'll go to bed being like, can't wait for tomorrow. Like I've got so much to do, can't wait. And like that could be at like 2 or 3 a.m. still. Mm-hmm. So like I don't really think time dictates it.
Yep.
So in terms of like balancing, like, are you asking about sleep or?
No, I'm just asking about like, when do you take time for yourself? Like, how do you not burn out?
That's a really hard one. I actually struggle with that a lot, because
I feel like a lot of creatives do, right?
All I know is to create. You know, like if I'm not making videos, then like I want to be animating, or like I want to be making music, and like they're all very computer related. Mm-hmm. So the only time I can find balance is when I like completely shift things. So like right now I've been sitting in a room editing for 2 months. I'm moving so that like, you know, just to break it up. Yeah. It's like I'm pretty extreme about it. Like if it's not working and I need a change, like I go get a change.
You just go do it.
You know, like one of the best places I recently went to was Asia, like Bali, Indonesia. So I got this, you know, like when I had this and I was there, I found like a really good balance. Cool. You know, because like I want to be able, like I don't want to be like, oh, I have to shoot this behind the scenes, oh, I have to shoot this tutorial. I want to be like, yo, I really want to go shoot this, like let's go shoot. Or I want to like walk around and be like, oh wow, this is cool, like let's just shoot. Jacob, that worked with Sam, he was an amazing influence for that. Like he is someone who's always creating, mm-hmm. but he doesn't go, I don't want to say doesn't go overboard, because everyone goes overboard. But like I don't know, man. Like it's always going to be hard to find a balance. I think the most important thing is to realize that there's going to be a balance. Right? So,
like you said before, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs.
There's going to be extreme ups, extreme downs. Like I just went to Guam with Sam again. If anyone has seen these videos, like it's an insane lifestyle. Yeah, we get up at like 4 a.m. Yeah. We go skydiving for sunrise. We go out ATVing. We hike a jungle.
You got to have that energy.
Hike through the jungle at night. And then we go scuba diving in a cave. You know, which was like a bucket list thing for me. Like skydiving and scuba diving the same day. That was dope. But like at that point, I was delirious and I almost drowned. You know, like that was an insane trip. And you do that for like 7 days straight, and then you come back here and it's like just like slamming on the brakes. You know, I'm just like, whoa, everything is so slow here. You know, and you can't find a balance. Like there's a depression that follows that. You know, like you hit these like extreme adrenalines, and like how are you supposed to recover for that?
You just want to seek it again, right?
Like there's no real there's no written way to deal with that. But it's just like, as long as you know, like, okay, maybe I'm feeling terrible because I had like so much fun last night, you know, like that's like a hangover, for example. Like, as long as you're aware, like, you can help control and like you can help put yourself in a better positioning to deal with it. You know, so like if I'm up at 4 a.m. and I'm excited about it, I just like let it be. Sometimes I'll just keep going because like when it's hot, it's hot. When I'm up at 4 and feeling like garbage, I'm like, okay, maybe I should sleep. Like, I'm not really doing anything, and it's probably becoming like a negative or a positive feedback loop of negative emotion.
Mm-hmm. So what I've gotten from talking to you right through this whole thing is like there's a lot of reassessment. There's a lot of like recognizing moments, feelings, and it's all personal to you. You can't really like judge it based on other people. Obviously you have your influences, but like, you know, reassess all the time. Be in the moment, recognize what you're feeling, and kind of, like you said, play to your intuition. Like, what? Okay, I'm fired up right now. I'm going to go crush it till 6. And if you're feeling like shit, I'm going to sleep till 12 the next day just to like get back into it, right? So yeah, it's really cool, man.
I'm I would say very unpredictable character, you know, like.
Hey, if it's working for you.
I can't really explain many things to people, like my parents, for example, like they have no idea, because like I have no idea. They're like, oh, what are you doing today? And like I'm just like, oh, like I don't know, I haven't thought about it. And they're like, what? You know? And like I can't follow this normal lifestyle right now because it's just I don't know, man. Like I just,
is that you exploring, or is that you?
I don't fit into like a 9 to 5. Like,
yeah, me either. But like, is that you like trying to explore yourself, explore the world? Is that you just trying to find what's right for you, or are you just continually evolving? Like, I feel like I
try to continually evolve. Right? That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Like, obviously you have ups and downs. Like I recently literally just like took a jump towards YouTube this year. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing, man. Like, when I'm saying you're going to be tested, like, it was so funny. I was going to India January 2nd or something. That was my first trip for myself. Paid for it all by myself. Believe in yourself. Fund your own ventures. Cause I love it. I never had any of my own footage from like all these things I shot. It's been owned by other people. Right. So I'm like, dude, this year is me. Booked India. December 30th, Sam Kolder messages me, hey bro, you want to come work on my year? I'm like, of course I want to work on my year. He's like, all right. He's like, I'm working on it from like January 2nd or January 1st till like 25th. I'm like, man, that's like literally exactly when I'm in India. Like, you know, it was insane. Yeah. And then
what did you end up doing?
I went to India. That was hard, but like, I'm so glad I did it. And then I was in India, and like, we didn't get to this guy, but I went to Europe thinking like, if I make one really dope video, could it change my life? I made like a 1-minute video, you know, and someone from across the world, yeah, because I'm just the quality, you know, like just make the best. Yeah. And this guy from Australia found me, and I ended up like going to work out like across the world with him. But he reached out to me when I was in India too, and he's like, yo, like I have all these trips coming up, like do you want to like come be a part of it? Like we should work on these edits. And like, I had to say no, you know, but like as soon as you go to do anything for yourself, like you're gonna hit major roadblocks. Mm-hmm. You know,
because it's the temptation of like, do I go work on this awesome opportunity, or do I keep working on my own stuff, right?
Yeah, so that's like the hardest thing to deal with, I would say. But yeah, man, like,
but it's worth it though to be working on your.
I haven't made it yet.
No, but I mean, like, but I'm saying like every day you're feeling more positive than.
Getting there, definitely. Like when the final product comes out, it usually takes me a couple months before I can be like happy with it. That sounds terrible, but like, it's gonna take me like a couple weeks to be happy with what I make. Because by the time I like go to edit, like release it, I've spent so much time looking at it. I'm just like,
revising it and everything.
Get out of my face. Like I'm happy with it, but at the same time, I'm just like, okay, like that's it. Like like you go, and then I'll come back to you and watch you. I'll watch you in a couple weeks. You know? If you love it, set it free.
Yeah, 100%.
So I know it will be worth it. Like I couldn't imagine. Like I have a phone call tomorrow that might be like kind of life changing, and like I'm really excited, but like try not to get overexcited about things that like haven't been like set in stone.
Mm-hmm. And even then, they tend to change very much so in our industry. So
It's a double-edged sword of like not signing contracts too.
true.
You know, it's like I don't want to sign them because things change so much and no one's ever like what they say. And then at the same time, it's like I don't know if I'm flying out in 3 days or you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't like.
Yeah.
It's a crazy lifestyle, but you gotta like accept it and ride it. You know, like you gotta know that you're riding waves of like on both scales, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, man, it's been amazing talking to you, and just like all of this that we've talked about is incredible. I feel like a lot of people are going to learn from it. But if you had to give like one, I know it's hard, but like one concrete piece of advice for creators or anybody who's trying to like get to that next level of what they want to do, for any entrepreneurs, like what's like one thing that's really stuck with you, or one thing that you think maybe would help people?
I think the quality. Like
Stick to quality.
stick to what feels right for you. You know, like as much as you want to listen to other people and base what you're doing off of what you've seen, like what are you on this earth to do at the end of the day if like you're not even following like yourself? You know, like why are you putting stuff out? Like why are you putting out 100 useless videos if like they're not doing anything? You know, so it's just like,
but it's hard to find that, right? Because so many people are still looking for that thing. So like how do you even take a step forward to like finding that out, like putting yourself out of your comfort zone, right? Like what your purpose is, right? Or following yourself. Like, you know, how do you play to that tune if you don't even know?
you just got your intuition, right? Like that's all you can trust at the end of the day. Like people don't realize, like, not to throw this out there, but like a meteor could literally strike this planet. Like we're flying through meteor fields. Like there's so many bigger things. Like there's such a bigger picture. Like, dude, just do what you want to do. Because like whatever you want to do is gonna, like, my best product is always when I want to do it.
Yep.
You know,
so you're gonna go that extra mile. You're gonna
do it,
feel good about it
because you feel like you want to do it. Like back to my days in high school, like I wanted to do that so badly, and like I didn't even know. Like I would have never guessed that like I'd have a career making videos. Like that was something I did randomly here and there.
Yeah.
But like took a turn. I ended up making a ton of videos, and now I'm just trying to take my experiences, and I feel like I became very misdirected. Don't regret it because I've learned so much, but now I'm just trying to like put it back onto the path that like I thought I was supposed to follow.
Yeah, and I also think like we're always going to keep redirecting the path, right?
100%.
And like I feel like some people just, they have the mindset that like, hey, I'm on this path and that's it. I'm just going to keep going that way and not redirect anything or try and change. And I feel like that's where people get unhappy, right?
Yeah.
Because
it's good and
they're
bad.
comfortable.
I definitely come from a family of over planners. So it's like for them, like they have their day. I mean, like a lot of people do this where they structure their day so tightly that if one little thing happens, ruins the entire day for them. And that causes so much misery. Like if you're leaving like, oh, I have like 5 minutes to do this, and then I have 15 minutes to get here, and then like I'll do this for an hour, and then after that I'm going here. Like, you know, like so much room for error. That's why I don't like typically schedule stuff until like it starts happening. Yeah. Just,
don't stress yourself out.
it's just like you gotta just go with what's in front of you. You know, follow that intuition, bro.
Right on. Follow that intuition. And for everybody out there, follow that intuition. Colin, thank you so much, brother, for being on here. I really appreciate your time.
No,
as I've mentioned earlier, like, you know, you've been an inspiration to me because you're killing it. You're following your intuition. I've kind of followed a similar path, not to the heights that you have, but, you know, try my best to get there. So yeah, man, thank you so much.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Like for you to say height, I feel like I'm like starting something. Yeah, I feel like I'm on the ground level. So it's interesting, right? Like everyone has different perspectives.
It's all relative,
things.
I guess.
Yeah, 100%. Everything's relative. But I just want to say before we end this, just so everybody knows, you literally showed up and came out to Toronto with me and brought like 3 cameras to help me out on the video. You know, like this was the reason why I was moving to Calgary, is to find people like you know, people who are like actually driven, people who actually like seek change, and like they see value in what they're doing, and like, you know, they're not necessarily making all their decisions based out of finance.
Right.
You know, and like I appreciate that, man. Like that speaks volumes, and
thanks, brother. I appreciate it, man.
that's gonna do really well for you. And I mean, like you continuously surprise me with what you're putting out.
Thanks,
The thing I really enjoy is that we're very different. You know,
Yep.
so like you put out like a short action film. I'm like, yo, that's dope. Like that's something I would love to do, but
Thanks,
like
brother.
that I never do, you know? So
Yeah.
like very different venues, but I mean, you're crushing it, man. Proud of you every day, and just keep growing.
Thanks a lot, man. Seriously.
Thanks
Means a
for
lot.
having me here, man.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, brother.